The heart can be open while the wallet stays supervised. In the next few minutes, you will get the plain English version, the mistake to avoid, and one small action you can take today. And if you are thinking, I should already know this, no, you should not. These systems are complicated. The fine print has fine print, and half the country is pretending they read the pamphlet. Around here, we read the pamphlet together. Stay to the checklist, because that is where we turn the whole thing into a refrigerator door plan. By the end, you will have a short checklist you can use today or share with someone you trust. The call comes in while you are doing something ordinary. Coffee, laundry, a quick look at the mail. That is why it works. A scam does not enter wearing a cape. It enters sounding like a bank, a grandchild, a delivery company, a doctor's office, or a government department with a very serious voice. The good news is that you do not need to master the whole system today. You only need a few rules that keep you from being rushed, confused, or cornered. Think of this episode as a calm friend at the kitchen table saying, "Hold on, let us read the label before we buy the jar." BTOB1. First, slow the situation down. Scammers hate silence because silence gives your brain time to put its glasses on. Here is the practical version. Write down the caller, the demand, the payment method, and the deadline they invented. Scams depend on emotional weather, fear, affection, confusion, embarrassment. Once the demand is on paper, the spell weakens. Try this before you move on. Say the decision out loud in one sentence. If the sentence sounds foggy, slow down. Fog is where expensive mistakes rent office space. Tiny pause here, because this is where the expensive mistake sneaks in. Next is the one that catches careful people. Baba Baba Baba. Second, separate identity from urgency. A real bank, agency, or family member can survive a callback. A legitimate organization can handle a callback through a number you already trust. A scammer needs you to stay inside their little theater, where they control the urgency, the vocabulary, and the fake consequences. Try this before you move on. Say the decision out loud in one sentence. If the sentence sounds foggy, slow down. Fog is where expensive mistakes rent office space. Kitchen table translation. Here is what that means. Next is the one that catches careful people. Because of a small black skin. Face. Next, never move money because somebody surprised you. Gift cards, crypto, wire transfers, and payment apps are the four horsemen of please don't. This is where shame does damage. Smart people get targeted because scammers rehearse. They know how banks sound. They know how grandchildren panic. They know which government words make normal people freeze. Try this before you move on. Say the decision out loud in one sentence. If the sentence sounds foggy, slow down. Fog is where expensive mistakes rent office space. Put a little star next to this one. Next is the one that catches careful people. BPAL. Point 4. Fourth, make a tiny household rule. No big money decision happens on the first call, first text, or first email. The tiny action is the whole defense. Create one household sentence. I do not move money from a surprise call. Say it until it becomes boring. Boring rules save money. Try this before you move on. Say the decision out loud in one sentence. If the sentence sounds foggy, slow down. Fog is where expensive mistakes rent office space. This is the part the brochure whispers. Next is the one that catches careful people. Point 5. Fifth, report it. Not because you failed, but because reports help shut down the script before it reaches the next person. Reporting matters because the pattern matters. Even if you did not lose $1, the report helps investigators see which script is moving through which zip code. Try this before you move on. Say the decision out loud in one sentence. If the sentence sounds foggy, slow down. Fog is where expensive mistakes rent office space. Good news, you do not need to memorize this. Next is the one that catches careful people. Imagine dating after 60 without falling for a romance scam, showing up on a day when nothing else is convenient. The dishwasher is making a noise, your phone battery is low, and somebody you love needs an answer. That is the moment this episode is built for. Not the calm, perfect day, but the ordinary, messy one. The move is to remove one decision from panic. Put the phone number, account, policy, form, or next step somewhere obvious. A plan does not have to be fancy to be useful. It has to be findable. The myth is that careful people do not need help with dating after 60, without falling for a romance scam. Careful people need systems, because careful people still get tired, rushed, flattered, frightened, and overloaded. There is no prize for carrying every detail in your head. The prize is a clean note, a trusted second reader, and a decision that still makes sense tomorrow morning. If someone else might someday be affected, say the quiet part while everyone is calm. Not a dramatic summit, not a lecture. A short conversation with plain words. Here is what I want. Here is where the papers are. Here is who to call. Here is what I do not want. Families do not need mystery during a crisis. They need instructions written by the person who knows the story best. Most bad decisions demand speed. Most good decisions can survive a night of sleep. Make 24 hours your default whenever money, healthcare, housing, legal documents, or family pressure enters the room. If waiting one day destroys the opportunity, ask who designed it that way and why they need you moving before you can think. Make a one-page map, not a binder, not a museum exhibit. One page with names, numbers, accounts, deadlines, helper contacts, and the next step. The point is not to impress anybody. The point is to make life easier for the version of you who is tired, worried, or standing at the kitchen counter trying to remember which envelope mattered. A second set of eyes is not an insult to your intelligence. Pilots use checklists. Surgeons pause before operating. Smart people build friction around expensive mistakes. Before you sign, switch, cancel, send, transfer, buy, or promise, let one sensible person look at the decision and ask the boring questions. When a claim sounds important, chase it back to the official source. Use the agency website, the number on the card, the statement in your hand, a licensed local professional, or a counselor whose job is to explain instead of sell. Search results are a hallway. Official sources are the locked office where the actual rules live. The goal is not fear. The goal is dignity. Dignity means you get to make decisions with time, clarity, and respect. It means nobody gets to use confusion as a business model. When you slow the decision down, you are not being difficult. You are acting like your future deserves a vote. Turn this into a refrigerator door checklist. What is being asked? What does it cost? What happens if I wait? Who benefits? Where is the official source? Who else should see this? If a decision cannot pass those questions, it is not ready. Put it down, take a breath, and come back with backup. Do one small thing today. Label a folder, save a number, check a beneficiary, ask a question, price one repair, write one password hint, schedule one appointment, freeze one credit file. Small actions compound. A retirement plan is rarely one heroic leap. It is usually a series of boring little locks clicked into place. The red flag is not always a villain in a black hat. Sometimes it is a friendly person, a glossy brochure, a rushed relative, a confident advisor, or a website that looks official enough from across the room. Your job is not to become suspicious of everyone. Your job is to make every important decision earn your trust. Use the 3-question drill for dating after 60 without falling for a romance scam. First, what decision is actually being made? Second, what changes if I wait until tomorrow? Third, who can explain this without making me feel stupid? Those questions sound small, but they cut through a surprising amount of fog. They separate facts from pressure. They separate help from sales. They separate an actual deadline from a fake emergency wearing a necktie. Keep a paper trail, even when the conversation felt friendly. Date, name, phone number, website, dollar amount, promise, deadline, and next step. If somebody objects to you writing things down, that is useful information all by itself. A paper trail protects your memory, protects your family, and protects the honest professionals too. Clear notes turn a vague feeling into a usable record. A trusted helper does not take over your life. A trusted helper helps you keep your life yours. Give that person a narrow job. Read this form. Sit on this call. Drive me to this appointment. Help me compare these two choices. Remind me where the folder is. The boundary matters. Help should increase your control, not quietly replace it. Plan for the bad day version of yourself, the tired version, the version with a headache, the version who just got confusing mail, the version who does not want to make one more phone call. Good systems are kind to that person. They use labels, plain notes, saved numbers, automatic reminders, and simple rules. They do not require a heroic mood. If you need to call someone about dating after 60 without falling for a romance scam, use this script. I am comparing my options. I need the total cost, the deadline, the downside, and where I can read that in writing. Then stop talking and let them answer. That little silence is useful. Helpful people will slow down and explain. Pushy people will rush, flatter, warn, or dodge. The reaction tells you almost as much as the answer. Put the decision on a calendar, because calendars make vague anxiety concrete. Add the renewal date, the enrollment window, the follow-up call, the bill due date, the review date, and the day you promised yourself you would decide. A calendar is not just time management, it is pressure management. It stops other people from turning their urgency into your emergency. Local rules matter. State programs, county offices, local nonprofits, area agencies on aging, legal aid groups, ship counselors, senior centers, and utility programs can change the answer from one zip code to the next. That is why a national video can give you the map, but your next move may need a local phone call. Local help is not a last resort. Sometimes it is the front door. If you already made a messy choice, start from today. Shame loves to say the story is over. It is usually lying. You may still be able to cancel, appeal, report, switch, document, ask for help, freeze an account, update a form, or warn someone else. The reset sentence is simple. What is the next useful thing? Not the perfect thing, not the thing that rewrites history. The next useful thing. Use the neighbor test with dating after 60 without falling for a romance scam. If a neighbor knocked on your door and described this exact situation, would you tell them to rush, trust the first answer, keep it secret, and hope the details work out? No. You would tell them to slow down, get it in writing, check the source, and call someone who knows the rules. Give yourself the same kindness you would give that neighbor. People often become very patient advisors for others and very harsh judges of themselves. That is backwards. You deserve the patient version of your own intelligence. The hidden cost is not always money. Sometimes it is time, transportation, stress, family conflict, lost flexibility, paperwork, a narrower network, a longer drive, a harder appeal, or a decision that boxes you in 6 months from now. Before you say yes, ask what this choice makes easier and what it makes harder. Good decisions have trade-offs. Bad pitches pretend there are none. Pick one quiet Sunday a month for a 20-minute review. Open the folder, check the calendar, look at the bills, review the next deadline, and ask whether anything has changed. That is it. No marathon, no dramatic life audit. A small recurring review beats a giant panic session every time. It catches renewals before they surprise you and turns retirement admin into a routine instead of a crisis. Think about the person who might help later. Maybe it is a spouse, adult child, sibling, neighbor, executor, caregiver, or close friend. That person should not need detective skills to understand your life. Leave them breadcrumbs, labels, notes, account names, phone numbers, policy numbers, and a short explanation of what matters. You are not creating busy work. You are lowering the emotional bill for someone who may already be scared. Every important conversation needs a calm exit. I need to think about this. Please send it in writing. I do not make decisions on the phone. I am going to call the official number. I will talk to my family and get back to you. Practice the exit before you need it. The words feel much easier when they are already in your mouth. Before spending, switching, signing, or promising anything connected to dating after 60 without falling for a romance scam, say the money sentence. This will cost me blank now, blank later, and the risk is blank. If you cannot fill in the blanks, the decision is not ready. That sentence catches hidden fees, vague promises, and the dangerous comfort of assuming the details will somehow behave themselves. Here is the shareable rule. No important retirement decision should live in only one person's head. Put it somewhere another trustworthy person could understand if they had to help. That is not pessimism. That is respect for reality. People get sick, phones break, mail gets lost, and stress makes smart people forget obvious things. Shared clarity is a gift. Here is the bottom line on dating after 60 without falling for a romance scam. You do not need to become an expert. You need a few sturdy habits that work when life is noisy. Pause, verify, write it down. Ask one more question. Bring in one trusted person. That is not overthinking. That is how grown-ups protect the life they spent decades building. Pause before you sign, pay, switch plans, move money, or make a promise. Verify through an official website, a known phone number, or a trusted local professional. Write down the date, name, phone number, and what was promised. Ask, what is the downside if I wait 24 hours? Share the decision with one trusted person before it becomes expensive. Keep a one-page note in a folder someone trustworthy can find. Review the note once a year or after a major life change. I do not make rushed retirement decisions, so I am going to verify this and call back through the official number. The point is not to become suspicious of everyone. The point is to stop letting rushed people, confusing forms, and shiny brochures drive the bus. If this helped you dodge one headache, tap like so another retiree can find it too. Subscribe to Golden Years Guide for practical retirement help without the fine print fog. This draft is intentionally long form, at a calm, senior-friendly narration pace. It is designed to meet or exceed 19 minutes after final fact-checking, source notes, examples, and TTS pacing. FTC, Consumer Advice, CFP, B. Older Adults, AARP, Fraud Watch, FBIIC, 3. Elder Fraud, Medicare.gov Fraud Reporting, SSA, Scam Alerts, State Attorney General Alerts, Local Bank Fraud Desk Guidance.